What's up, guys? Bit of a late night thing. Um, I wanted to do a live show tonight, just a quick one, way late in the night. And maybe a few people show up, I don't know. But the point is, I wanted to show something going on. Slapz Audio, guys. So we've been waiting for the version 2 Oblivions and the version 2 Smackdowns to drop. Well, the version 2 SmackDowns are there. So if you go down here to the bottom of this page, you can see right here, this is the version 1 SmackDown 15, and this is the version 2 SmackDown. Actually, it's a version 212. So yeah, you got the version 215 over here, and you got the version 218 over here. It's a sexy lineup. Um, so the V1s, you can see a little bit of difference in the way they look. A good example would be because all of these right here are version 2s. So there's the V212, the V2 15, and the V2 18. And let's see here. We go over here. I believe. Oh, yeah, that's the Neo. Okay. So let me go back. Good times all around. Just got this updated today, so but you'll notice that the V115 is on sale for $409. Um, that's a good deal, guys. If you use my discount code, it'll knock another $40 off of there. So you can get one serious monster 15-inch subwoofer for what, about $360. That's a heck of a deal. Um, got a few people that have joined me. Let me see if anybody's asking questions. Oh yeah, there's some people popping up in here. So guys, yeah, we're checking out the version 2s. They're on the site now. The version 2 SmackDowns are on the site. The Oblivions will be hitting in about a week, I think. So as scheduled, look at these 18s, guys. I mean, just look at it. Holy cow, what a sub, man. That is a monster. It's a thing of beauty. That's a SmackDown 18. 3,500 watt RMS sub, 4-inch, 4-layer voice coil. I was noticing, I was looking through here, looking through the specs earlier, and a couple of things caught my eye. Let's see here. So it's got a 27 hertz FS, which means we're going to play lows like a boss, and a .64 QTS. That means that the baffle options are going to be kind of big, man. I mean, you could theoretically run this IB with a little bit of reduction on power. Um, at least that spec lines up with it. 32 millimeters of one-way X-Max. So 64 millimeters of X-Max. That's quite a lot of throw. Suggested tuning at 27 to 32 hertz. And he even makes a suggestion down here. So to power these properly, a 5,000 watt 1 ohm monoblock amplifier per sub is at the mechanical limit of the sub. And it would be at the RMS power handling with Rise. So they're suggesting a 5,000 watt amp per sub, or obviously two subs on a 10K. They're suggesting that specific setup. So, and that's good. I mean, you're getting good advice from the right people. It also says do not mix the version 2s with the version 1s in the same enclosure. And that's because the specs are different. They would not coexist very well. Look at that. That's 18, man. That surround is absolutely huge. Let's see what's going on over here. Adrian Francis says, "What's up?" Anthony Brown is up in here. I want to look at that here in a second. Anthony's asking about the doing more power. Just looking at them when your notification popped up. Yeah. Uh, yeah, they're serious. No. So, yeah, they kick balls, dude. Now, let's look it down a little deeper here because they were wondering about the power handling. I think the version 1s are also rated at the same power. There was some changes that happened to these. One, they got a bigger motor. Both the Oblivions and the Smackdowns are getting a bigger motor. So more VL, more motor force, which is good. And they got the spotter went through a couple. I think the spotter changed a little bit. There's a different surround. There's several parts that were changed to improve the overall excursion, the travel, how far it could travel, how much power it could handle, how well it handled extreme power, and how linear and clean it stayed at extreme power. So they wanted to get all these things just a little bit better in every department. That said, the deal on the version 1s is smoking. So if you wanted to pick up some really serious 15-inch subs, these version 1s, if you're using my discount code of CAE, you save 10% off of there. So you can knock another 40. You can knock another $49 off there. So you can save $350 for these guys with my discount code. And their RMS was 3,000 watts. So there's a slight upgrade in power handling. They still have the same 4-inch, 4-layer voice coil size and the same magnet on these. They got the 400-ounce Y35 magnet. And the version 1s had, oh man, let me tell you, that's different. The mounting depth, oh wait, no, this is a 15, so that explains it. Okay. Yeah, that explains it. That's will be a little bit different. I'm comparing an apple to an orange there. 24.34 BL. That's a nice strong motor force. 30 millimeters of X max. So 60 millimeters both ways. And suggested port tuning is 28 to 33. These things were designed. I can tell you the differences. This was kind of more designed for SPL. Whereas the new one has a little bit more design features that push it toward windy lows. Well, that said, they'll both do both those things, but one's going to do the other, I think. Now, this is just me and my thoughts. I think one's going to do it a little bit better than the other in general. But if you're looking to pick up a really good deal on a really good subwoofer, right now is the time to get these. They won't last forever. These version 1s, as soon as they sell out, they're sold out. So if you guys are interested in getting some high-powered 15s to run in a build, these are wonderful. And if you manage to blow these things at some point, it's a TI basket. So getting a recone for it's going to be pretty easy. This is a good solid configuration that you could use for a long time and a lot of builds. Let's see here. Anthony Brown said, I've seen many videos on Slapz Audio getting windy with less power. Exactly. The most subs at twice the price range. that's the whole point, man. I mean, that's what this channel is honestly all about, is finding something that's good and it's not going to kill you in the bank department, man. I mean, they're priced like cheap subs and they perform like mid, good, solid mid tier subs. Uh, and I still haven't managed to hurt one. And I'm going to tell you, I absolutely tortured the crap out of mine. And I'm running the Oblivions, which are the less expensive versions of these guys up here. In fact, yeah, I'm running these guys. So, and the version 2 of them is going to hit probably next week, maybe by the end of next week. So, you guys be looking forward to that. Things are about to happen big in my world too. But that's nasty, isn't it? That 18, that's freaking fat, man. Look at that thing. That's a beautiful sub, and the specs are great. Um, and of course, if you're looking for stuff um, to pair up with that, with those 15s and 18s, the 5,000 watt, this guy right here would be a perfect solution. So you get the Slapz Audio Shock 5K.1 and use my discount code CAE and knock another $26 off there. I'm looking at 240 plus 240 plus, what did I say, 350? So 240, 355, 6, less than $600, and get hellified amp sub combination. So you tell me where you're going to get two 3,500 watt RMS subs, or no, 3,000 watt RMS subs. We're talking about the version 1 subs. Two of those, two 5K amplifiers, solid equipment in both cases for like $1,200. And that would be a monster build in the vehicle. So I'm just throwing this stuff out there, showing you what's going on. Because, uh, it is what it is. I love these amps. The Shock line is my favorite. But I will say this about that. I also really, 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 really like these amps. These are the 160.4 micro amplifiers. I've got one behind me back here on the wall, and you guys can't see it because my camera's all janky. It's right there. So if you look over there to the side, it's hooked up and playing. That's what I get my mids and highs off of. That's what's playing my mids and highs in my studio. I've got this Hyanka amp up here that's doing subwoofer duty right now. Sounds fine. Doesn't make the power it's supposed to, but it sounds fine. And I got a V2 DSP up here. That's like $110 DSP and $100 amplifier. And I think this one's like, I don't even know, man. There ain't a whole lot of money on this wall, but it's a lot of stuff doing a lot of work. So I'd love to have, I should get me one of those. Get me like one of the smaller monoblocks from Slapz and put it up there. Because I don't need a whole lot of power. I could actually run the sub. I could easily run, I'm not even using but 2 channels on this. I could easily run the sub off of the other 2 channels of this amplifier. It would be, I mean, you're looking at, 300 amps or 300 watts bridged, and that little old 15 over there would handle it, no problem. It'd be perfect. I mainly have the Hyanka up there just because it's kind of cool. It's working. I mean, it's the sub that's playing, but it ain't the best choice, but it works fine. And I'm powering everything with a couple of AGM batteries sitting behind me, and I've got a battery charger hooked up on them, which reminds me, tomorrow I gotta put this thing in. Now what this is a 10 amp power supply. So it's just a little 10 amp power supply. It outputs 12 volts at 10 amps, potentially. It's got this little plug here, a little deal for a couple of wires in it. Got the power cord. We'll hook this up, and this is going to take over charging duty for those batteries. I've been watching the charger that's on it right now, and it tells me how much amperage it's steadily putting in, and it's always like 3 or 4 amps. It never gets up unless I got it cranked up for a little bit. Then it'll get up to like 7 or 8, but it never gets up over 10. So 10 amps will be fine to keep up with what I do in here. Let's see what else we got going on over here in the chat. What are we doing in the chat? What's the math to set the gain on those amps for the 5K? What's the math? I mean, everybody has a way of setting gains. Ultimately, you need to get the maximum amount of power before it clips. And there's about a dozen ways of doing that. As far as a math goes, math is not my subject. I usually I have a couple of different methods I use for setting gains. One of them is just straight by ear. I get my one of my loudest tracks playing the tones that I typically play, and I go full tilt boogie on it, and then I slowly turn the gain up until I start to hear the fuzz. And I got clip lights on the amps as well. Then I'll back it back down till the fuzz goes away because I can hear it. I mean, if you train your ear to hear it, you can hear it. It's a slight kind of a honky tone that comes in that you can definitely hear if you're listening for it. But then I'll go out there and check my amps. I'll crank it up and look at my amp clips lights and see if they're on. That's how I do it most of the time. There's another technique too. You can use a capacitor and like a little tiny speaker. You essentially hook up a tweeter. So if you got like you want to create a tweeter situation, right? Get you a little 3-inch or whatever speaker or little headphones with a speaker in them, and you put like a 500 volt cap in line with it, and hook that up to your speaker outputs on your amplifier. And you just turn the gain up until you start hearing a sound come in that speaker, and you will hear it really, really loud, because what happens is that capacitor will filter out all the lows, and all you're going to get is the frequencies past that capacitor, just like any capacitor will. Well, the clip that you're hearing is higher frequency than that cap will stop. So you'll hear it. As soon as you start hearing a noise come over that speaker, you turn it back down, and then you're done. It's really simple to set gains, man. I mean, it's not near as much of a hassle as a lot of folks want to make it. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm just keeping it real. So people put a lot more thought into it than it really needs to be. Anthony, yeah, that's it, man. You don't have to be a rocket surgeon. Most of the old boys that built NASCAR engines for the first 40 years of NASCAR had never even graduated grade school. Just saying. Yeah, no problem, man. That's 2 tricks. The one with the speaker works really good. But yeah, you get your ear used to it. If you're messing with it, going back and forth and messing with it, you'll start to hear it. The speaker will make a kind of, like I said, it's kind of an extra tone that comes in. But once you start hearing that, like without using the little speaker, if you're just listening to the subs, when you start hearing that extra tone coming over the subs, you're getting into clipping pretty good. That's why I use a clip light too. So if you got a bass knob that's separate where you have some range, like my amps are mounted on my right out there where I can see them, so I can just step out, crank up the bass knob, watch for the clip light on the amps come on. You know, if you run in multiples, you have to adjust them both. So I'd set the gain on one, and there's a technique to setting the best amp to match, but essentially you want to use the gain to match on the amp that clips first, whichever one clips the earliest. And in my case, both of my 8Ks literally clip exactly the same time. In fact, they're both so well matched. I could turn. I can set them both at clipping, and then at clipping, the voltage will be identical on both amps. It's really, they're really good at that. But that's what you do. You find out if you're running multiple amps, you find out which amp clips earliest, and then you get its voltage. You get the voltage for it right before it clips. Say it's 100 volts, whatever. Then you go to the other amplifiers and you set them all to, whenever you get the volume up to where you want it, you set them all to that same exact amount of voltage, and then they're all matched. And you shouldn't have any clipping. But to get that first one set, you can use the trick I told you about. And also to test to see which one's clipping first if you're running multiple amps in a setup. And there's also a whole lot of other ways to do this. There's not just one way that's right. Any way you can accomplish getting your amp. And here's the reason why you don't want to clip. Okay. First of all, let me talk about that. You know what? I'm going to talk about that. So I've been meaning to talk about that. And people, when it comes to this shit, there's the Grey Poupon crowd out there that's not going to like anything I'm about to tell you guys. They got this shit all figured out, and they're not going to like it, so they're going to talk smack. And that's fine, because I don't give a shit. When you're clipping amp, you don't technically do any harm to the amp or the sub. What does happen, though, is the clip signal will generate more heat. And if you're already pushing your subs at a very high amount of power and you're really giving them a plate full of beans, you're already dealing with a lot of heat. Okay, you're already getting them coils hot. You're already heating that amp up to the frying point. When you add clipping to the mix, you're just going to significantly increase the amount of heat that you're creating. This is bad. Can you do it for a few seconds? Sure. Can you gain a little bit of dB by going into clipping? Yes. But it's going to be dirty. It's going to sound dirty. It's not going to sound good, but you can get a little tweak extra dB on a meter if you go into clipping. But the problem with that is if you stay there very long, it don't take long at all. I mean, just literally 5 or 6 seconds of that, and you can significantly heat up your voice coil past what it was. And it's already hot. So clipping doesn't kill your shit. It doesn't hurt anything. But it does generate a lot of heat in your voice coil, and it generates a lot of heat in your amplifier. Now, a couple of things are going to happen when you do that. So let's say you don't actually break your sub or your amp and you're clipping like crazy. The other thing that happens is when you heat up your voice coil, you significantly increase the impedance of your sub. So now you've already got box rise. Okay, it's bringing the ohm load up. Now you're also bringing up the ohm load on the sub because it's getting hot. Which more resistance. Now your amplifier, on the same note, your amplifier is going to get hotter. And the odds are you're also stressing out your electrical too at this point because you've got it right on the edge, which means you're probably going to drop some voltage, which means you're going to pull even more current than normal, which means more heat. This is all leading up to catastrophic failure. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like how the Titanic went down. None of the individual things that happened would have sank the boat. But all of them happen in the right sequence all together, and you got a boat down the bottom of a very deep portion of the ocean. Same concept. So clipping is not the end of the world. Just understand that when you do it, you're basically doubling the amount of heating that you're doing in your subs. So the normal amount of heating that you're doing, when you hit clipping, you've now doubled that amount. It's like turning the burner on max. It's going to get hot, and it happens really fast. Like I've been out there running and doing demos, and I can maintain my subs temperatures around 120 to 140. If I'm really slamming the balls out of it, up around high 30s, the 120s to 130s at my dust cap. Okay. And if I push into clipping for 5 or 6 seconds, I'll jump from a 135 to about a 170 in about 5 or 6 seconds, going into clipping pretty heavy. It's very fast. So understand that that's the thing that kills the sub, not the clipping itself. It's just a meltdown. Hopefully this little talk will help you guys understand what's going on, because there's so much bullshit out there that you have to dodge. Let's see what you guys have to say. One more thing. Since Slapz Pro speakers are 8 ohms, well, I'm running them. That's what I'm running, man. Don't be scared of an 8 ohm speaker. Just don't. Don't be scared of running 16 ohms. Don't be scared of that. That used to be a bigger deal than it is today. Today, power is cheap, man, and the odds are you're going to be running pretty big amp on those, and you're not going to be actually using but a small portion of that power. You just wire them up in series and get it down to 4 ohms or 2, whatever ohm load you need at your amplifier. The reason they're set up that way is because the vast majority of people that are running the pro audio gear are wanting to run a whole lot of them. So having a higher ohm load works out better for wiring up a large group. But I'm running a set of 8 ohms in there right now. I've got the 2K 0.4 on them on 2 channels. So I got 500 watts going to each of them at 4 ohms, which means they're getting about 250 watts at 8 ohms. And you say, well, that's not enough power. I've got them turned down to about 30% potential output in my DSP, because they will fry your brain. Just treat them like anything else. The only time you need to worry about ohm load is just so that you don't put too low of a load on your amplifier. But don't sweat them being 8 ohms, because that's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal in your head, but then when you get them hooked up, all that shit goes away. Completely goes away. So don't sweat it. How is Brandon's supply on Trunk Thunder Lithium? We're looking at probably 3 weeks. That's a rough guesstimate. I'd say expect something like that before that's going to be ready to go. But you will know as soon as he knows. It'll let you know. And usually I'm going to be announcing it pretty quick too. As soon as I get a date, a closer date to something, as soon as I get a general idea of a date, I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you up to date as best I can. Be sure to slap that subscribe button. I have a damn good ear to set. No, actually, I set one by ear and then I set the other by meter. So that's how I do it. I don't set them both by ear. I mean, no, I wouldn't be able to get them that close. I'd get them within a few volts of each other, but not that close. I set one by ear and then roll the other one up until the voltage matches. That's how I do it. But I am very much old school, yes. Nick said, also, I have two let's see here, two depth bonds, 4515, so recommended 3.3 cubic feet per sub. What do you think? Um, I've run the depth bonds. I don't remember which ones they were. The 302s, I think it was. 30212s. I ran those for a couple of years. And whenever I got rid of them, they were all still playing perfectly. And then whenever that guy got rid of them, they were all still playing perfectly. I told him he was stupid for getting rid of them. Um, the I go by Def Bonce's. I went by Def Bonce's specs, man. I found that their specs are pretty accurate. When it comes to Def Bonce, you pretty much can bank on that. They do good research and they give accurate information. Some companies like DS18, for example, is kind of all over the place. I mean, their higher level stuff is actually pretty good, and sometimes they have good support for it. But their mid tier and lower, it's just everywhere. It could be complete garbage, or it could be great, and you don't know what you're going to get. They're kind of like a Walmart of car audio. Um, and but Def Bonds is a different story completely. So if they're telling you to do 3.35, I would do 3.35. And I usually favor the smaller side of, if you're going to put, the rule is if you're going to put a lot, like close to the power rating that the sub is rated at, um, or even a little more in some cases, if you're going to do that, you're going to want to favor the small side of the recommendations that they give you. If you're going to use the larger variation of what they're giving you, like they may say it's 3.5 cubes to four and a quarter or whatever. If you're going to favor that larger area, then you want to back off on the power a little bit. That's typically the way to roll with that. So, if you're going to be putting a lot of power on it, you want to get down there. And if you're going to be, you might even want to go a little lower than that, a little smaller than that, if you're going to be really loading them up and giving them a plate full of beans. You're going to lose a little bit of low extension if you go lower than that, but you're going to gain more power handling. And if you're going for SPL, then that's what you're looking for anyway. But anyway, what's up, Joseph? I'm glad all you guys could join me tonight. It's just a wild, off the wall kind of a thing tonight. So, um, Joseph said both of mine clip at the same point and both set to 90 volts output, and they never get warm. Exactly. Shock. I mean, I love the Slapz 8Ks, dude. The Shock 8Ks are wicked freaking amps. All the Shock line is a wicked bunch of amps, dude. They really are. They're well built, very well built amplifiers. And I can't complain about any Slapz gear at all. Michael Vita. Hello, sir. So they pulled the V118s off the site. I think he was out of the V118s. I think that's why they're not on the site. I think he literally sold out of them, so there's none in stock, and there's not going to be any more in stock. So what you're seeing right now is the going out of business sale for the V1s. So if you want them, you better grab them because they're going to start flying out very quickly, and there won't be any more. Just a heads up. See here, he said they sell out of the V115s. You think they're going to end? Yeah, the V1s will be gone. They won't be coming back. I don't think. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I don't think the V1s will come back. Once they're sold out, they're gone. He's got quite a few of them, but their numbers are limited. Anthony said, I'd rather stay at the manufacturer's power specs. That way I know I'm not overpowering them when I'm playing clean music. Absolutely. I'm the same way. What I'm going to be running, uh, I'm going to be running the Oblivions in my new build at probably about 20% over rating. but I'm doing that. I'm doing the exact thing that the owner of Slapz suggests that I do. So I basically uh, I hit him up and I said, "Hey, what do you feel safe with? What's And he gave me specific stuff that he would do. So I'm doing exactly what he recommended that I do. And but I am going to be overpowering the Oblivions a little bit at full tilt boogie. So we'll see how that goes. Running higher ohm loads like me. Um, it's not. I mean, your ohm load really is not that big of a deal. What happens is, I mean, it's like, hmm, it all depends on how much power you have to work with. You know, I mean, if you need 1,000 watts and you have 1,000 watt amp, and the amp makes 1,000 watts at 1 ohm, and you want to make 1,000 watts whenever you're playing the speakers, you may wire it at half an ohm so that whenever your rise happens, which it will when impedance starts happening, by the time that impedance starts happening, the amp will be producing 1,000 watts or close to it at after impedance rise. That's why people do that. But if you need 1,000 watts and you have a 2,000 watt amplifier, you can run it at 2 ohms or whatever. You're not gonna, even after rise, you're still going to be getting the same amount. So if you have more power, you can run at higher ohm loads and you're still going to get the power that you're looking for. That's the whole point. Um, Here's the problem with pushing an amplifier like that, though. Like I said, whenever you wire it down to half an ohm and then, your impedance rise it still makes good power. The amp was rated at 1 ohm. It was rated to run efficiently at a 1 ohm wiring. They anticipate the box rise at like 3 ohms at certain spots. They're anticipating that in the rating of the amplifier. So whenever you defeat that, you're changing the amount of power that the amplifier is putting out over what you're making it put out more power than it was actually designed to do. Does that make any sense? So what happens is you shorten the life of the amplifier, you potentially blow them up. They get a lot hotter than they should. Your input, your power section where your power and ground wires connect to the amplifier, that whole area can get really smoking hot and cause problems. All kinds of things can happen, and that's how you blow up amplifiers. It's a risk. You're running the engine twice as hard as it was designed to run, and so it's twice as likely to break. And that's running at 2 ohms. The beauty of that is most amplifiers are a lot more efficient at higher ohm ratings. So the more they take more of the power that comes in gets turned into power going out, and less of it gets turned into heat. That said, there's a sweet spot. You can run an amp at 8 ohms, but you're leaving so much on the table when you do that. So there's a sweet spot, and I usually try to run the amplifier either a little above or at the ohm load rating that it was designed to run minimum. In this case, I'm going to be running three. I'm going to be running 3 Shock 8Ks on 6 Oblivions. Right now, I'm running 2 Shock 8Ks on 4 Oblivions, but they're the D2 versions, so I'm running 2 ohms per. I'm running 2 ohms per 2. Which means I'm basically at half the power I could technically run and still be safe. So it's just what I have, so that's how I'm running it right now. That's about to change, though. Man, I learn new stuff every day myself. Um, yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. Um, the 12 cube net ported, 12 cube net ported box be too much for 2 Oblivion 18s. 12 cube net ported box, 12 cube net. Oh, so 6 cubes for the 18s. Let me go have a look. I'll have to dig in. Don't have them. I don't have all the specs for all of them memorized just yet. Let's go back over here. Let me get a rough idea of what we're working with. So you're talking about running the V2 18s. And what's he got recommended for them? I don't remember. I know I looked at it earlier, but I don't remember what it was. No, he's got it listed with a 5.4 to 5.9 cubic feet per sub. Um, so 12 cubes would be on the high side, but it would be totally within the perimeters of what he's got listed there. So you should be totally fine with 12 cubes on the 218 SmackDowns. Let's see here. I'm going down the list here. I lost track. I lost my place. Where was we at? Goodness gracious. Clip at the same time, 90 volts. Let me figure out where I'm at again. Okay, here we are. I'm thinking about selling my XV3 18s and getting the version 2 SmackDown 18s and the Shock 8K. I like the XV3s. I think you will too. I think you'll see an improvement in that setup. I think it's a better setup than that. So yeah, I agree with that idea. Uh, yeah, the subs are 4,500 watt RMS each. Plan to run an Atom 7.5K on each sub. That's a solid amp. I've got the well, no, I sold it. I had a 9.5K that I ended up selling to a good friend of mine. It's still in our team, but it's running in a different vehicle right now. On each sub, most people run them say they are power hungry and need almost double what they're rated. So small ported boxes away. Yeah. Let's see. What we got here? Okay, he's just answering. Okay. I'm curious to see how the V2 does. Oh, son. Nasty. Hey, there's Jason. WW2000 in the house. No, amps are rated for a 1 ohm resistive load, actual 1 ohm. Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is whenever they design that, whenever that circuit's designed to meet the rating of a 1 ohm resistive load, they anticipate the fact that it's going to see rises and it's not going to be producing 1 ohm resisted power all the time. You know what I'm saying? So if you lower it down to a half an ohm, now all those numbers, all those impedance numbers go down, which means you're going to be pulling a whole lot more out of an amp. I just don't particularly care for running an amp wired below its rating because it stresses out the components of the equipment. And higher ohm loads are going to be more efficient. The more of the power you're taking out of the batteries and alternator is getting turned into power. The amps are always more efficient at higher ohm loads than they are at the low ohm loads. Sometimes significantly more efficient. And a lot of people are right at the edge of their electrical system anyway. So whenever you start trying to pull more power, when you drop the ohm load, you're losing efficiency, which means more you need even more electrical, and they already had an electrical problem. So you can see how this catastrophically snowballs into a mess. Um, just my input. There he is. Dubby, what's up, Dubby? It's a late night show, man. Looking for the Sony Explode coupon. I wish I had one, brother. I don't have any Explode coupons. I need to make one. Cadillac Don's in the house. You guys are all showing up for my late night bullshit. What's up, man? Um, wait, let's see what this question is. This might be something interesting. Can anyone hear an SQ difference in musical bass quality dropping an amp at 1 ohm or even lower if it can take it? Um, well, you could go get into the weeds with that question too. Same way I talked about clipping earlier, there's a whole lot of the Grey Poupon crowd out there that will tell you that low ohm loads sound worse. And they'll swear by that. They'll fight you tooth and nail. Hell, Jason might even tell you that here in a minute. I don't know. But in reality, I honestly don't think it makes enough. I mean, it does change the sound. It does. It is a difference. Because your okay, impedance is how your amp detects when it needs to control. So it's like what's it called? It's the word I'm looking for. I can't think of the word. It's the amp's ability to control the sub. And I can't think of the word. Anyway, that whole system works off of impedance. So as the subwoofer moves, it sends power back to the amplifier, and that's how the amplifier handles controlling that sub. Um, anyway, the less you're doing that, the less control you're going to have. So, is it a difference? Yes. Will you probably hear it? Probably not. So that's the answer to my question. The best way I could answer it, because it gets complicated and I can't remember the right words. I'm on the edge of my element in that question. Damping factor. Thank you. That's what I was trying to figure. I couldn't remember the word for it. Damping factor. It has part of that system, that damping system, has to do with the impedance of the speaker. So whenever you have a lower overall impedance, then you have less of that damping factor, which is why your Grey Poupon guys be like, oh, I'm going to run my sub at 8 ohms. That's great, man. You're going to have a lot of damping factor and you're not going to have a lot of power, but you're going to have a lot of damping factor. And maybe that's what you want. It is what it is. So is there a difference? Yes. Does it matter? Probably not. But, it is what it is. You asked the question. I did the best I can to answer it. And that's a rough, dirty answer. W said, I got a crisp $3 right here for it. I'm going all out. Make one. Hell yeah, brother. Appreciate the pitch in there for the damping factor. Okay, let's see what Jason has to say about this. I knew he was going to chime in. I knew I was going to pull his chain. I knew it. Let's see. Gomez, I think sound quality actually improved when I lowered my subs from 4 ohms to 1 ohm. Well, what could happen too is that's the other thing. When you lower your ohm load, you turn the amp down, which you may have been up in the area just starting to brush into that clipping area, or the amp may be actually a little more efficient. A lot of things happen when you change ohm loads. There's different variables. That's why I said you probably won't notice it, but it is a difference. To a Rockford T11, I listen at relatively low power levels. I can't really vouch for all amplifiers. Exactly. That's why I said, should it change? Yes. Should the sound quality improve? Yes. Will your gas mileage improve if you go from 55 miles an hour down to 54 miles an hour? Yes. Does it matter? W said, I don't think many SQ users need to drop down to 1 ohm or lower. Exactly. Exactly. That's the whole point. Like, why would it even matter, man? Like, you know, for an SQ setup, an honest to goodness SQ, straight SQ setup, you're probably not going to be putting more than 400 or 500 watts on a subwoofer anyway, because you're not going to be overpowering your mids and highs, and you're not going to be going crazy loud on anything. So you're not going to be putting that much power on. You may have a 1500 watt or a 2000 watt amp on it, but you're not going to be putting out nowhere near that much power. So, you know, it's just it's all about control, man. If you want sound quality, you put your sub, you put any sub in a sealed box. Take your DSP, go down there and bump up the 20 hertz a little bit. Bump up that 20 a little bit more, and then bump up the 30 a little bit less, and then let that sub eat, and it's going to sound amazing. It's not going to be the most efficient, but you'll have all the control of that sealed enclosure, and it's going to sound way better. And that will make way more difference than changing the ohm load at your amplifier. Way, way, way more. Don said, if anyone comes across a SoundStream Triple X subwoofer, oh goodness, with the 12-spoke basket, please reach out. Oh man, nice. You're trying to match up something. I got you. I'm looking for a fourth for my Escalade build. I found one on eBay for $1,100. The listing ended. That's what EXO's running in his shit, man. He's running the Triple X 18s. And I know personally, he spent about 2 years finding 6 more of those things. And he was digging hard to find 6 more 18s. He ended up having to buy every one he bought was blown. They were all blown. And he paid pretty good for them, but he got what he was after, man. He very strongly wanted the Triple X's, likes those subs. Said I want a pair. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, like, if you got that kind of money, why not? You could do a burnout in a Rolls Royce. Why not? I mean, that would be the coolest thing ever. I seen a guy in a what's a thing called, a motorhome, big ass motorhome. It was in Branson years back at the Cruising the Strip thing. There was a guy with a motorhome, pulled it up to a pole and lit the tires on fire back there. He had dualies on both sides, had them all smoking. Smoke was burning. Yeah, this was his motorhome. This son of a bitch was crazy. And the cops was out there doing donuts in the parking lot. Yeah, it was, that place gets crazy when they cruise the strip and stuff down in Branson. Man, they get stupid down there. Yeah, now see, you're talking about SQL in this scenario. And I was specific about SQ specifically, not SQL. SQL is a completely different beast. You can get stupid loud with an SQL setup. I think that's what I'm running, is something it's in the SQL department. I'm more towards the L, but I can still give you an SQ demo. You'd be surprised how good I can make that setup sound just by switching my tune. Hey man, have a good night, Jason. Appreciate it. Oh yeah. He was talking about that. He was looking at the last time I talked to him. He was looking at about 3 different options, and I'm not going to mention any of them. But he was looking at about 3 different options. I'm going to leave that for him to reveal. But yeah, he was talking about it and thinking about it real hard. It's mainly because he's got the itch and he's just not getting as much performance out of those subs as he thinks is possible. He's getting a lot of performance out of them, don't get me wrong, but not quite as much as he wants. And you're never happy as a bass head. As a bass head, you're always reaching one step higher. You can't be happy with where you're sitting. And nobody is, no matter how big of a build they have, they always want to be slightly higher. That's just how that works, man. Because you'll probably see 120 times 2 at 0.5. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I doubt that, man. Well, I don't know. It's a good question. You never know what EXO is going to do, man. I can see him doing a giveaway on some of them possibly, but he might not want to get rid of them at all. Because I mean, it ain't like it's just a commodity that he can just move. You know, like it's a current thing that he's just got. He can just move. It's something that he spent a long time piecing together and customizing and everything, and it's a little bit more than that. So I don't know. It's good. I doubt he would sell them. He's either going to keep them or give them away. It's what I would say. And and I don't know how he would do that, but I know his heart is way too big, and he probably would. I've seen him give away some stupid shit, man. Good old AB be chugging along at 80,000 amps. Let's see here. All right, Anthony, you have a good night, man. Uh, yeah, Joe, he is, man. Absolutely. Bruce is a mess. What's up, Steve? What's the difference between 18 SmackDown version 1 and version 2? Uh, there's a little bit more power handling. The coil has changed. The motor has changed. The motor's got more motor force, bigger motor. The coil's a little bit better. It's got more power handling. It's got a new surround. It's actually got quite a few things that have changed. It's like a few things are the same. It has the same TI basket and the same cone and the same dust cap. And pretty much everything else has changed. I don't. They're not the same sub. They have the same name and they're the same size. They have the same basket and they look the same from the front mostly, but they're not the same sub. Uh, Anthony Brown. Yeah, there's differences though. What's up, Don? Don says, I have 3 that I've had for 8 years, beating the hell out of them. I rebuilt them 3 times for different. Yeah, that's been. I've heard that from everyone. There's certain subs that just stick around. You know, like the Vegas strokers. That people that just have them, they just don't let go of them. They've rebuilt them and they've kept them forever because they're just so unique. And those are some good subs, man. Uh, hey, Joe. Now, I just caught the N. Apologize. I was working towards the L and SPL. Yeah, right. Um, Steve, you know what? I don't know. That's debatable. I can't answer that question because I have to know more about your whole life. You know, like everything about your whole situation. Um, if they're doing the job, which I know the SmackDowns are doing the job, then no, I keep running them bitches. Um, yeah, I mean, but if you're already thinking, man, I wish I had a little bit more, that's the thing, you know. If you were like, well, these are good, but the motor force isn't quite as much as I need it to be for what I'm doing, it's a good example. Thing, you know, and then how's your budget? Well, where's the money at? You know, could you sell them and get enough money out of it to make it make sense? There's so many different options in there. Um, if you've been bumping them for a year, then you know, I mean, you're like, hey, you know what? I've repeated these coils up a whole lot of times. Maybe it's time to, you know, I don't know. It just depends on everything. Um, I think it'd be an upgrade. Yes. But is it worth it? It all depends on everything. W said Directronics has those team sickles coming out. I don't know, man. They're going to be big and they're going to be expensive, but I don't know. I don't know. You know, that's big boy money, and I don't play in that pool. I don't have enough hot sauce to get to eat dinner with them people. Said still in the box. Hadn't even got my. Oh man. If you can make it make sense with your selling them, if you can sell them at a price to make it make sense, then sure. That would be my input. It's going to be it's going to be an improved sub. So it all depends on how much logic there is. Brian, what's up, man? Didn't the XO Triple X subs have PSI? Oh yeah, he's had many recons. I know Single Sub Scrub did high numbers with the PSI. PSI makes good recons, and you can do a lot of funky stuff with them, depending on what sub you're talking about. It doesn't always work with every sub. There's so many elements involved in, like for example, Kicker and their high-end SPL subs. Their 2-ohm sub won't use the voice coil from a 4-ohm. The gaps are different. The size of the gaps are different, and the coils are thicker and thinner. They can't interchange. And but if you're looking at something like a Scar, most of the time you can swap those around, and shit like that makes a difference as to how much what you can do when you build a new recon to kind of redesign the sub and to get more out of it. They don't always allow for that element. So, anyway. Yeah, he's running PSI recons right now. Dreamsicles weren't too bad on price. $450 per. I don't know. I'd have to dig into them. Yeah, I imagine so. Well, guys, we popped on here tonight to do just a little thing, just a little thing, talking about these guys. And if you're interested in picking up some of the Slapz audio gear, which I think is an excellent buy across the board, depending on whatever you want to do, from a little small family sedan to, 30 subwoofers in a bread van, whatever it is you got going on, Slapz is going to give you a good option to handle that. Give you a good piece of equipment for a good price. And again, if you use my discount code CAE, you can knock 10% more off of that price. And you guys, we're going to be out of here. Y'all have a good night. Let's get the duck out of here, baby.
Subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Power's charging, amps are amping. Gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust.
Feel it, baby. That's the Oblivion V2 free air. Don, I can't honestly speak on them. There's some guys out there that are running them though. They've had real good luck. I don't have any first-hand experience, so I mean, you know, if Alan's producing it and putting it out, I put faith in it any day of the week. I know how he does it. So I would say you would get solid. That's what I can tell you. Y'all have a good night. If you need anything else, hit me up in my email, guys. In the bottom description of all my videos.